everybody, this is Rayn Asaria working with Children First Canada, bringing you the latest news on the 44th Canadian general election. Today it is my honor to interview the Member of Parliament for Steveston Richmond East and the Conservative critic for Diversity, Inclusion and Youth, Mr. Chiu. Mr. Chiu has been a community advocate for over 25 years. Before becoming an MP, Mr. Chiu served as a school trustee and a senior software development manager. So thank you very much, Mr. Chiu, for joining me today.
It's all my pleasure. Thank you for your invitation.
Okay, so I'm gonna get started with my first question. So I read your party platform. It's a very detailed platform, and one question I have on it is, can you elaborate on your plan for mental health of children, specifically children?
The Conservative has 5 pillars in our platform this election, and one of the pillar is actually to secure the mental health for Canadian. It is because after 18 months of the pandemic, what we realize is a lot of people have been disconnected and also has been faced with significant mental challenges, and so the Conservative realized that we need to dedicate one of the 5 pillars of our platform into helping in Canadians. And we have also realized that during the pandemic, especially our younger generations are suffering the most. Yes, it is true that seniors, for example, like my father-in-law, who passed away in April, they suffer a lot of mental challenges. He didn't die because of COVID, by the way. It was isolation worsening his dementia. But at the same time, we think the younger generations may seem to be very resilient on the outside, but in the matter of fact, that statistic has told us that a lot of them, because of isolation, because of the lack of social interaction, has developed significant mental issues. And therefore, the Conservative had decided that we need to focus on that. We will dedicate more funding and resources into addressing the mental challenges that Canadians are facing, and we will prioritize these fundings to all the provinces who are according to the Canada Health Act, the healthcare implementer and in the providers for our countries.
Okay, so that's a very great platform. And my next question is what is the Conservative plan to support Indigenous communities, specifically Indigenous children and youth?
Right. I think in the platform there, you would realize that in terms of children and youth, recently we have discovered the unmarked graves for many Indigenous children and youth, and this is something that actually saddens I'm sure every Canadian here. So to fulfill our promises, we will immediately implement the call to action report in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, specifically the recommendation 71 to 76, which is to address and response of the residential youth, residential children challenges.
Okay, that's again a very inspiring for many Indigenous people and a very detailed and great platform. So my next question is, one of the main concerns for my generation is the environment. Can you please tell me how the Conservative Party plans to protect our environment and our planet?
Right. In fact, it's so important in our to our party that we actually have 2 sections of chapters dedicated to these issues. We know that environment is not exactly the same as climate change. Conservative, by our definition, we are a party to conserve, to protect, and to care for this great environment of ours. So we definitely have plans to provide more transit to lower the carbon emission. We have plans to conserve are the Canadian forests. And one thing that has not traditionally been addressed is the fact that Canada it's sparse and mostly covered by green spaces, and therefore we do need to protect these greens and trees and forests so that they can continue to absorb the carbon dioxide and can produce us more oxygen.
Okay, so that's again a very important part of my generation. And so my next question is, what is the best way we can support the mothers and fathers who are raising young children from coast to coast to coast?
That's also a very thoughtful question. When I and my wife had decided to start our family, we look at the situation we're seeing, the lack of childcare spaces, and also a balance between, my family raised versus outside providers. We had made a choice. We had decided to turn ourselves temporarily into a single income earning household. It's very challenging. It's very difficult, and the decision was not made easy. We, as a result, didn't go to much vacations, and we continue to drive cars that are 15-year-old and whatever. But that's okay. We have our choice. We realize that we get to live our dream. Our two daughters are happy. They're both in university now. So what conservative believes though is to support parents, young parents, to provide them choices similar to what I have made. But when I made the choice, the government were not paying much attention to us or our need. The current government is thinking about providing $10 a day daycare and whatever. The problem of that situation is, according to what we are seeing happening in similar jurisdictions such as Quebec, there are two problems. The first one is these quotas and these seats or these available slots are never enough. A lot of them have been taken up by also more prepared and financially prepared and financially capable young families. And therefore, a lot of people have to stand in for the long wait list for an available childcare space. And secondly, it's in the Quebec example, in the years that they have implemented the scheme, it had already created a $7 billion debt.
Okay, thank you very much again to Mr. Kenny Chiu for joining me today. Once again, this is Rayn Asaria working with Children First Canada. Thank you and have a great rest of your day all.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.